What's up, y'all? It's just Rhonda. Welcome to my channel. It's Saturday. You know what we get into on Saturday. It is the review, the recap of Project Runway Season 22, Episode 5. It was the Unconventional Challenge, y'all. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Before we get into the things, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, let's talk about this runway over here. This week, it was the Unconventional Challenge. They were to make outfits out of paper towel. I would say, as unconventional challenges go, making an outfit out of paper towel seems pretty easy compared to some of the other things that, we've seen the contestants have to work with. I'll start there. The other thing is, it's definitely interesting to see what they come up with. Everybody is using the same medium. So traditionally, you go to a store, you rip things apart, or wherever they take them to, they rip all kinds of things apart, and they're supposed to find materials that would not be considered like fabric. So they tend to, ask them to shy away from umbrellas and napkins and things that, would be easy to work with. You know what I'm saying? If you're going to substitute it for fabric. So they had it pretty easy as far as I'm concerned. They had to work with paper towel, and seemingly Viva is some strong paper towel. You can make a whole pair of slacks out of the Viva. Can we talk about the show just a little bit? I am a diehard Project Runway fan, and if I didn't not feel like wasting my money on a bunch of paper towels, actually, while I got a couple videos, so I might go ahead and look for my unconventional challenge that I had to come up with in my own Project Runway style challenge. But over here, these people, Viva is some strong paper towel, and they were given the challenge to go ahead and come up with an idea. This is a 2-day challenge, and so as much as I was impressed with some of the things that they came up with, using paper towel, I would say I'm definitely not that impressed based on how much time they had. It was a 2-day challenge, and I feel like they've come up with a lot more in one day. So some of them, for all of the contestants that did not make their garment completely out of paper towel, is completely disappointing to me. You had 2 days, and you had a medium that was like similar to fabric, a very, depending on the paper towel, could be kind of weighty, not so much like flowy. So yeah, it's a very durable piece of paper towel. So I've been going on and on a lot about the paper towel, but the show in general has most people disappointed. The format is ridiculous. We left this episode not knowing who was the winner, or who, this who was going home thing that they like to belabor us with. So we're waiting on a whole week to find out who was going home. So no surprise this week. Aaron went home. I think that was the right choice. As much as I was a fan of Aaron in the beginning, I would say I was disappointed in Aaron, what he came up with over here. Silhouettes, he's got some cool silhouettes, but I don't know if this was, the the contest for him. I don't feel like he showed us anything based on his resume. It was a bit disappointing. La Roche said his look was disgusting. However, he would love to hang out with him. And, I said it before. Aaron carries himself in a way that makes La Roche comfortable. Um, as much as he calls Joseph McCray arrogant, I find him to be quite arrogant. I've always been a fan of Joseph. I'm not Joseph McCray. I've always been a fan of La Roche in terms of what he's done in the fashion industry, but um, not so much over here. I don't think when somebody puts their blood, sweat, and tears into trying to create something in a day, I think it's much better, for us as viewers and for the designers, for them to at least get constructive criticism. The stuff that, La Roche is saying is basically just him trying to out mean himself from the week before. He said he eats tears for dinner, some weird thing that he said. And I guess he's trying to stand on that. Some of the people had some things to say about La Roche and the current season in general. So I wanted to share with you guys some of the things that the people are saying. About this particular season. Most of us, like I said, are really big fans of Project Runway. Every time they switch networks, things get a little bit different. But I feel like all the elements that we really loved are gone, and now we're seeing mediocre talent. It's thundering. So if y'all hear that, if I jump up out of here, it's because the lightning just showed up. Yeah. So let's hear what some of these people had to say. Hey, Lotus Egyptian Flower. I'm just getting started. Let's hear what some of these people had to say about this season of Project Runway.
Let's talk the latest episode of Project Runway. Because Bravo didn't post the looks on Instagram, I can't exactly critique the looks on here the same way, but let's just talk about the episode and overall the season so far, because I'm really starting to have some major issues. Overall, first and foremost, I have to say, one thing that I'm getting absolutely fed up with is some of La Roche's critiques, because it's getting out of line. And I actually really like La Roche. I really like him. I think he is brilliant at what he does. I think he's a brilliant stylist. So I don't discredit that or his talent at all. However, it's exactly what Aaron said. There's a difference between giving critique and just being mean. And he's getting to the point of just being mean, because his critique to Aaron was so unnecessarily mean. It wasn't even helpful. I'm like, it's like you're just getting off on putting people down. And then his comment to Joseph McCray about him wearing the same fabric as his model, and he got super mad at him for that and his arrogance. And even some of his comments to Tyra, like, you still fly economy. It's just like, it's just doing too much. And also, I'm like, why are we acting as if many designers in previous seasons have worn the same fabric as their models? Sometimes they'll even make themselves a shirt or make themselves a little accessory, and it's never been an issue. So why are we trying to come after it now? I feel like he's just getting mad at Joseph because Joseph's confident in what he's doing. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with being confident in your vision. And also the fact that there's no single designer on the panel, so no one can actually comment on the craftsmanship and the material and the work that's being done.
I will say there is something very strange. Like, I don't know what it is. Like I said, if La Roche is just in his head, but there's something very strange about him attacking this man's confidence. And most of these designers come over here with a story about the things that they went through, trying to, you know, overcome some of the adversities that they dealt with as children, being bullied and things of that nature. When you're gay and a creative, I feel like La Roche knows the story quite well. And so I don't know why he's so adamant about attacking this man's confidence. And another thing, I see Joseph McCray being very confident and sometimes annoying to a point. But you never see him over in his confessionals being nasty. There's a lot of nastiness and name calling going on over in the confessionals, and he doesn't even do that. So let her finish.
Hate that, because one thing about the previous seasons, having Michael Kors, having Zach Posen, they would literally get to see how well it was made, and they could talk about how constructed the garment was, and we're completely missing that. We're completely missing a lot of the dialogue about the clothes this season, and I really hate that. And lastly, just spitfire about all the looks. I will say, generally speaking, though, I did agree with most of the judges about who they chose to win in the battles. The only one I didn't agree with was Bobby versus Elizabeth, okay? Because I hated Bobby's look. I hated that look. To me, it looks like something you can get from Rainbow. The material looks cheap. The styling looked cheap and dated. Elizabeth's to me was better. However, she lost it with the hem. She should have cut it way shorter. However, I feel like if she did that, the dress maybe would have given me vibes of looking too similar to that wet look that Zendaya wore. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but it's like that nude look and she had like the wet hair. I think it was for Dune, but like I think had Elizabeth done that and it looks kind of close to that garment, Law would have ripped her a new one. And the last thing I wanted to say really quickly was about Anna and Aaron. Okay, so this is the duo that had Stassi as their model, but she dropped out, so they had to have a model switch last minute. I think that while I liked Anna's look better and I thought it was modern, I didn't love how either of the looks looked like on their current model because you can tell that they had those designs in mind for a different person and a different body type. And I'm going to try to be as respectful, but also just be honest as I can be. I think that when you have a model that just has more curves, you need to kind of raise the waistline a little bit so that it doesn't add seemingly extra in that area. And I think both of them could have used maybe raising up the waistline by half an inch because I feel like that low waist look that they both had would have maybe worked more for Stassi's baddie and it just didn't look properly fitting. Okay. And I feel like that actually both of their ideas were great, but it just didn't work in my opinion. Okay. But yeah, overall, I don't know. I just really was not a fan of this episode. I also miss having a full set of judging. Also, where's Nina? Where's Nina? Let's talk the latest episode.
Where's Nina? We all want to know. Nina not being there is a whole problem. I said that last week. I said, I don't know why they didn't put a waistband on any of these models. And just a waistband makes a difference. And you cannot tell me that you can make pleats and zippers and all the things that they have done over here. And you can't take an extra, I don't know, 20 minutes to put a waistband on. So, yeah, I agree with her. She's not the only one with an opinion. Let's hear what this guy had to say.
During this week's Project Runway deliberations, he was tearing into Joseph McRae, which I did not agree with anything he said to Joseph. All those people that picked Joseph as the weakest link have been haters since day one. We didn't even find out who won the Turn Viva paper towels into a design challenge because Law and Tyra were arguing over Law's critiques of B and Brian's looks. Now, I did agree with Law's takes with this one. B's look was way better. I did appreciate Brian for adding more creative technique to his look, but the combination of it being paper towels and the colors that he picked just magnified the flaws in the dress. And it was kind of giving salad. Now I'm really hoping that Naeem wins the challenge because his look was fire. I was gagged when it came down the runway because if you had not known that he used paper towels to create the entire look, you wouldn't have even known it. It was giving denim. Viva, give him his 20K now. But yeah, I wish we had known who won this week. It's bad enough that we always have to wait until the following week to find out who was eliminated. Now we have to wait to find out who the winner is. But yeah, I cannot lie. I actually am living for the drama. Law Roach.
I mean, he likes the drama. I feel like most of us do not. I think if they're going to get another season, I don't know. It's questionable over here anyway. Um, I wish they just go back to Lifetime where we get all the things that we can get if they are lucky enough to get another season, hopefully they pay attention to the things that the people are saying. Like, we do not care to hear Heidi and Tacky Tyra go back and forth about how some ugly ass lettuce dress was beautifully flowing down the runway. You know, that's my opinion. So there's that. Here's my unconventional challenge. Look, I'm going to go ahead and share this with you before I move on. Well, now I'm stimmering and stammering. I wanted to look at this. I'm gonna go back over here and look at this first comment that was on this particular post. It says, I genuinely think that Law wants Joseph to elevate his creations. He just is a rough way of saying it. Maybe, but when you break somebody down, that's not necessarily the best way to get him to elevate. He's saying it that way, and it's intentional because he wants, he loves tears. I guess he wants to see the man. He want to break him down, all right, see him cry. I do agree that he should give the judges what they want and change it up at least for one challenge. But yeah, I just like Law's constant irritation with Joseph. Joseph has a lot of people out here that, are pulling for him. So I'm hoping, well, I mean, now it's too late because they're no longer filming. But even afterwards, I hope, that he could see the love that he's getting. I feel like we all have recognized that he has his silhouette. You do know it's his look coming down the runway. He has also elevated to some extent. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share with you guys my unconventional challenge. I was the 2011. Whoo, time just keeps on flying by. I was the emerging designer 2011 winner. Thank you very much. Over in Park Avenue, Winter Park, Florida. So we were on a small scale, but it was like, it was a really fun. It used to be a big event, honestly, for these wealthy people, but I think they don't really like putting all their money in the way they used to. But yeah, so this is my unconventional challenge. We had to go to a hospital and they gave us a bag of things to make a look. So the jacket is actually a blanket, a hospital blanket. And I dyed it to give it a little bit more of a khaki vibe rather than, just this dull. You know what a hospital blanket looks like. The dress is scrubs. This actually, the photo shoot took place in a hospital, obviously. The dress is scrubs. I dyed the scrubs. It was my version back in 2011 when this boy, Naeem, was probably just a child. Well, clearly, not even a thought. But yeah, it's giving denim dress. If you can see, the bracelet is made out of goggles. I had plastic goggles and I cut them into little rectangles. And honestly, I can't remember how I got that thing to turn into a bracelet. Um, but everything that we made had to come from a bag. The buttons on the jacket is let me see if I can make it bigger. The buttons on the jacket were from rubber gloves, and I took the rubber gloves and stuffed them with gauze until I made a little button out of it, and I spray painted it silver. They did allow us to use like dye and paint in order to change things up. This is before. So this is the dress without the jacket. It's a cute little summer one too, with a little one strap on the side. Mind you, this was, yeah, 2011. 2011. That's the front of the dress. Now you can see on the jacket, the detailing on the jacket in the back, and my little buttons made out of rubber gloves. So yeah, that was my unconventional challenge from back in the day in 2011 when I was out here entering into design contests. Thank you, Lotus Egyptian Flower. So yeah, there was another couple more people because the people are out here talking, and a couple of people struck, and I think it's just because obviously it's one black man to another. And I think that's the problem. Like, I feel like people would prefer that La Roche is more uplifting because this, come on. Come on. And give the man credit. And like he said, he's been winning every challenge. I feel like it sucks to still get cussed out even when you're not on the bottom. Like, if he was on the bottom, it would be one thing, but he's not. I see this guy on Instagram. He critiques, the fashions over here.
The classroom, please. You're doing too much on Project Runway. We get that, I don't know if the producers are making you be extra T, but everyone can fill in the blank. But you're doing a little too much. To tell Joseph McCray last week that it was arrogant for him to match his model is absolutely insane. Everyone does it. And then for you to say, oh, like we didn't know that was your model until we looked at you and you had on the same clothes. Joseph McCray's signature is in everything he puts down that runway. Everyone knows it. The bell sleeves, the billowing pants. Everyone knows that. For some reason, you're acting like if he didn't wear that, we wouldn't know that was his model. We would have known, and so would you. But don't be for no reason. There's no reason for you to behave this way. And it's quiet as it kept. Yes, you are a good stylist, but Zendaya is easy to style. She has Eurocentric features. It's easy to style someone like Zendaya. It's hard to make Zendaya look bad. She's skinny. She has Eurocentric beauty. And that's your best client who always looks good because she has the model's physique that they have walking down the runway. So stop it. Stop it. Like, yes, you are great. You've done a great job with her, but you've also done bad jobs with other people. And also, before you continue to be nasty and be rude, here's a little taste of your own medicine. Pluck your lace front. Pluck your lace front. It'll carry you a long way and it'll help shape that rounded potato face that you have. Listen, just stop being so rude to the girls on Project Runway and you won't hear from me again. But I'm going to warn you, warning comes before destruction. Don't think you're so high and mighty that you can't be touched and your spot can't be taken, because it can and it will. Law.
Oh, that seemed personal. I mean, not for nothing. I'm not over here trying to come for law, but his wig do be sitting down on his forehead, so he could like go ahead and pluck that lace front a little bit. Who else has Law Roach styled? Celine Dion. He's got a long list of people. He has some of the young girls, but I will say he's not wrong. Zendaya is beautiful standing there bucket naked. So, I went to the Ripley's Believe It or Not wax museum here, and there's a Zendaya wax figure, and I didn't even like standing next to it. I was like, I'm gonna go back over by Beyonce. She's my same size. Zendaya towering over me. What's her name? Taylor Swift towering over me. I'm a good long five and a half. So I was just feeling myself till I walked over there by Zendaya. But he's right. It's definitely not easy. He's not styled Queen Latifah. I'm not sure. Honestly, I would have to look at his resume. Queen Latifah doesn't miss really on the red carpet. So if he's styling her, is she styled by Law or June? Because I feel like June would be in that, network of people. Anyway, there's another woman who had something to say. So where am I at? We still sharing him? Yeah, let's go over here. We're going to look at one more before we get into these looks. It ain't much.
People are saying Law is no worse than Nina or Michael Kors or other Project Runway judges in the past. For one, I don't really care about other Project Runway judges in the past. I might not have liked them either. That's not the conversation that I'm having right now because they're not on the show. But specifically with Law on Project Runway last season and this season and his relationship to Joseph McCrae, there is a very weird bias that I don't even know if he is aware of. It is very racist because before I said tone deaf, but I'm gonna just call it what it is. It is very racist to tell a Black designer on American national television that his designs are reminiscent of crack vials. Comparing his work to crack is so layered and there's so much nuance considering the crack epidemic and that history in our country and its effects on the Black community, all of the racial stigma and stereotypes specifically surrounding crack and Black Americans. So to say that, especially when it just didn't have any place, there's no way that was such a leap, such a reach to compare that design to crack vials when the inspiration was clearly science, chemistry, like a science lab at school. I actually think they even got the unconventional materials from a school, if I'm not mistaken. We all saw where Joseph was going with that design, whether you liked the design or not, but it never gave crack. And I don't care. You can tell me I'm too woke, I'm too conscious, I'm reading into stuff, but that was a choice. That was a very layered choice. So then you have that from last season and you come to this season and that same designer is back again. And now the issue is, oh, you're not humble enough. He also gave him that critique last season. But this season, Joseph is killing it. He's winning challenges. He's never in the bottom. His work is consistently good. He has a signature. He has a fashion point of view. There's a story that he's telling. And sure, there are things you can critique him on. You can critique all the designers because one, they're working with limited time. So there will be faults in construction and execution. But to nitpick and tell him that he's not humble enough because he's choosing to wear the same fabric as his model when we have seen designers do that before. So for everyone arguing like, oh, well, other seasons, Michael Kors was mean and other seasons, Nina was mean. Other seasons, designers wore the same fabric as their models. Now what? So by y'all's own logic, Law's critique doesn't make sense if the standard is always going to be what was allowed and not allowed and what was okay and not okay in previous seasons. And I just think overall, telling Joseph that he needs to be humble is just such a weird take because he's not cocky. He's not arrogant. He loves himself and he loves his work and he's confident in his work as he should be. And you have to have that confidence if you want to make it in any industry, especially the fashion industry where it is historically very racist. And Joseph is a Black man.
and a queer Black man. So I can't just take Law's critique with Joseph specifically as, oh, he's just being the villain, or he might be harsh, but it's warranted. This is not warranted harsh critique. Telling a Black designer that his outfit looks like crack vials is not harsh critique. Telling a Black designer who really is very unproblematic that he needs to humble himself, that he's too arrogant, is not a harsh critique. That is trying to make him smaller. That's telling him that he's taking up too much space. He needs to be grateful for scraps. He needs to be grateful just to be in the room. And he doesn't have that energy with the non-Black contestants, and I don't like it. So I've seen several variations of this comment where people are saying Law is no worse than.
I agree with her 100%. I think that's why for some of us, it's so bothersome. The way that Law is coming off directly at Joseph McCray, because he has come back this season elevated. So if you want to elevate and uplift me, don't talk shit. Don't tell me that, I'm arrogant. And if Joseph McCray is arrogant, Brian is not arrogant, Bobby is not arrogant, Elizabeth is not arrogant, because they all are. I would say the only humble designer, Naeem talk a lot of shit behind the scenes, but when he's talking directly to someone, it's not the same. I think Naeem was on some bullshit this week, though. I ain't gonna lie. I would love to be able to ask him what that was all about. Anyway, let's get into these designs. And unfortunately, like I said, the season is already over. People love Law. And Nina Garcia has never been this nasty. Michael Kors was definitely nasty. All those noises he would make. But I feel like Nina, she's hard. She's not an easy judge. But she's not. I don't remember her ever telling somebody that they need to humble themselves just because, like I said, I don't feel like it was arrogance. So where are we gonna start? Let's start with the safe people. You got Jude and Joseph McCray. They did exactly the same thing, just opposite. I'm disappointed that these two did not make their look completely out of paper towel. I would say, as far as Joseph goes, this is probably one of my least favorite. Even though he had to pivot, I don't love it. I've seen it, on some of the young girls, that whole kind of off-centered button up front. Don't really love the collar. I'm not a fan of it. Like I said, this is probably my least favorite that he's done all season. This girl's body is banging, so it's not going to be hard to make her look good. The shorts, he made those out of fabric. It's, I like the shorts. The shorts aren't bad. They're a little short for me, but if we're critiquing things, La Roche did, and we didn't hear it. Did you critique the fit of these shorts? I feel like a lot of young girls would definitely wear these shorts. They're enough that, her booty cheeks are not hanging out. You said La Roche doesn't like another confident Black man. Seems like it. It's irritating. It's very irritating. Yeah, so Joseph McCray, was this the worst? Definitely not. Was this, like, in my opinion, not your best that you've done so far? You didn't do a great job at pivoting, but that jacket definitely doesn't look like paper towel either. So he was able to execute his point of view. I'm looking at it, it don't look like paper towel. Jude doesn't disappoint. Even when he's kind of like off a little bit. These pants are fire. I like the pants. He even took the time to make pinstripes on them. Those pants are very interesting. I could see a young girl doing that. The jacket is, he could throw a jacket together. The jacket to me is, him and Joseph McCray were kind of in the same bag with the jacket. It's not out of paper towel, it's out of fabric. So you love Jude's pants. They were amazing. And they had pinstripes on them. Fire. I hope he does that in fabric. He needs to add that to his, repertoire and some fabric. And the pants fit. Like, look, it's amazing what a waistband will do. It's amazing. It got pockets, waistband, fire. The way the cut is beautiful. The way they, cover just enough of her shoe. Because, Jude like him a pump. Like he an old lady. Um, yeah, so these two are safe this week, and even though Joseph McCray is safe, La Roche took this opportunity to tell the man that he needs to humble himself. I'm tired of the Joseph McCray show. Are you jealous that the people like Joseph McCray? I'm not understanding. They asked him, what was up. And when, what's your story? And he said he'd been trying to, like, people have been trying to dim his light his whole life. So while he's explaining to you where his confidence, I'm not going to call it arrogance, where his confidence comes from, that's enough. I'm tired of the Joseph McCray show. Joseph Luke was his own. Um, I didn't hate it, Lotus Egyptian Flower. I just feel like he had 2 days and he did. It's definitely better than whatever it was he was doing before. Like I said, when you don't have a lot of time, they're at week 5. So, you start kind of needing some time to refresh. You know what I'm saying? You're in there just cranking these things out one day at a time. La Rose, do you sew? I'm curious. Probably not. Because the man said he needed to work on that lace front, so he probably doesn't sew. Anyway, these two are safe, and that's cool. I think that's the right place for them. Safe. Um, let's talk about the bottom. On the bottom, you got Elizabeth and Anna. I was really disappointed in Anna I mean, not Elizabeth, Bobby. Bobby and Anna on the bottom. Um, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I think Elizabeth was on the bottom too, and I got her in the wrong spot. Where did I put her? Did I put her on here at all? Child, I think I forgot all about her, but I can go find her look. I'll go grab her look. But we can talk about this right here. Um, I had a feeling Bobby was going to choke when it came to the unconventional challenge. I had a feeling because, this is what she does. And her expectations, they're like, this is her challenge. I think, the judges were probably going to be like, yeah. Sorry, I'm looking for this girl's look while I'm talking to you. I think she probably figured that the judges were going to have high expectations of her. They should have. Um, and here she is. I don't think this is the worst dress. I'm just emailing myself this girl's ugly look. I don't think this is the worst look, but I do think the fact that she sat up there and said she feels like she's the worst, that, I don't think that's going to serve her at all good. She should have never said that. And it's definitely, I feel like when they go, why can't we hear the deliberations? I want to hear them go back and forth in the workroom. You know what I'm saying? Not in the workroom, but, the judges. I want to hear them go back and forth and talk about how they come to these conclusions for some of these, looks. Because, child, this argument that took place between Law and Tyra and Heidi. This is why you don't need those tacky twins up there in the first place. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, the fact that she went up there and said, "Can she vote for herself?" Y'all don't you just say what it is. You know what I mean? Say what it is. Say what you really feel. So I don't know how that's gonna work out for her in the end. Does it look like paper towel? It's not very flattering. La Roche said he can appreciate that, the boobies have support. Do they? Mm-mm. I know Anna, in week 5, I want to see a different silhouette from her too. She does a lot of these corset looks. Like if she manages to survive the next week, I hope so, because whatever she did over here, what's her name? Loris, I think that's her name. She's always a good model to have, because a lot of times when your design is trash, she sell it anyway. So hopefully she sold that dress. La Roche, like I said, he says it's well constructed, but he ain't making no friends over here. Miss Bobby that talks a lot of shit. She's so like proud of herself with this ugly ass textile that looks dirty. Who said that? B. It does. It looks dirty and dingy. It's not any design to it. It took her 2 days to make a bad waist. I mean, what do you call it? Above bust. It's not a waistband. It's an above bust band. I don't know what's happening in the back. Why one side doesn't match the other. It just looks messy. It's giving kindergarten project. You know when the kids get water paint and they're supposed to like, your mama probably had one like this hanging on the refrigerator because you was over in kindergarten. They belong in the bottom to go home. I agree. I'm an Anna fan, so I think Anna deserves, at least one mishap. Bobby has been down here many times, and at least when you look at these two dresses, at least Anna put some work and design in it. This lady took a strap around the lady's bust and threw some fabric around her neck and called it a bow. Is that supposed to be a bow? I feel like somebody who doesn't sew could come up with that. You know what I mean? Just cut a, piece of fabric and wrap it around the lady. Ugh, child. There's no styling to it. That's an issue Bobby has, along with her arrogance. But I guess La Roach didn't notice that. Here's the other one that was in the bottom. Let me pull her up. Child, it was bad. I didn't even include her in the I didn't even include her in the conversation. You said if it was Black History Month, it was very offended by what Bobby made. Because it looked like, based on what's going on in Mississippi, is that what you're saying? Bobby's dress looked like a noose? I'm going to go ahead and say it. She got a noose around this lady's neck. Yeah, it's definitely giving noose. Thank you for pointing that out, Lotus Egyptian Flower. It's giving noose, not fashion. So, yeah, ew. And it's offensive all the months of the year. Elizabeth, Miss Cocky Elizabeth, she thinks she be doing so much. I do like the idea of the lace. Like, she bought the lace, she created a pattern. The top of the dress has some design to it, but I do not know how the closure ended up over there on the side like that. Like, what kind of measuring is she doing? That the zipper is on the side. Have you ever had a dress where it's zipped up in the back, but not on the side and not quite in the back? It's just kind of over disheveled a little bit. She's giving streetwalker. This lady love a theme. We got a chitlin dress and a can dress and a Indy 500 dress and a Western chocolate, somebody called it mud dress. Now, I don't know what this is. This lady has she has a really nice figure, and you just made her look like a lady of the night. Who walking around with black tights and pumps on? Please tell me. It's 2026. I guess she had to have something on, but this lady looks like, hey, mister, do you got some time? Toot toot. Hey, beep beep. You did not like the idea of her dress design nor the designer. You talking about Elizabeth? Yeah. Elizabeth is another snarky, arrogant one who hasn't come over here and made no fashion, not one time. They keep acting like she is. I feel like we're being played. I would like get rid of all the damn judges. How about that? Let's just bring Zach Posen back over here. Like I said, I feel like Christian Siriano should be, judging. Because he be real judgy in that workroom. I don't really have anything else to say about this. The styling is horrible. These people are young, but I can't understand why their styling is so bad. I don't like what she has on. She need to add, like, this girl is thick. She got a good shape, but she thick. So every time she walk, her booty cheek gonna come out the back of that dress. Her hair is not styled at all. That collar, ugh, stop it. So, they got a couple options. I'm hoping it's her or Bobby. I'm hoping that, Anna gets a chance to redeem herself. But This was a hot mess express, and they had 2 days to do it. And when the Tyra and them were like, "Oh my God, this is so pressed," and Roach was like, "Y'all are being really nice." I agree with him. Y'all were being really nice because this was trash. Um, let's get into who's at the top. Less designers every week, so we have less, conversation about these designs. Um, Naeem, I feel like he's just keeps pulling tricks out of his hat. This is cool. I like these pants. I personally wouldn't wear this skirt on top of the pants, but he's a young designer. This is definitely giving youthful. I love the way like it's all paper towel, but it looks like the waistband and the cuff and the collar, that all looks like it's elastic. The details with the buttons and amazing, amazing. I actually have a better picture of it. They was real stingy with photos this week. They made you go from hell and high water to get. Naeem is the best look. I'm gonna go ahead and I agree with that. Look at this. Just what's this girl Bobby talking about? Can't nobody do textiles like she does? Yeah, he can. Look at that pockets. And when you look at that collar, that's a zipper on the front. When you look at the collar and the waistband and the cuffs on the sleeve, you can't tell me that don't look like elastic. The skirt is given a little boxy, and then okay, it's very cute how it's a skirt in the front but not in the back. There's a lot of design to this, but I love it. I love it. I think it's very modern. I think his dyeing technique was outstanding. Um, the cut of the pant is really cute. Naeem is definitely in my top this week. Um, I also love Jeffrey's look. Jeffrey, when they were talking about flowing down the runway, the way these ruffles on these pants like just flowed. Jeffrey does a lot of the eyelets and things, but perfection. It would take. I feel like I could see both of these girls. You know what I'm saying? Out somewhere. This girl. This is an Orlando girl. I believe Jeffrey is an Orlando guy. This is girl. She's going out. It's giving a little Latina vibe. Is he Latina? I don't know. I know his man is. The entire outfit is made of paper towel, and you can tell. You talking about Jeffrey's look? Um, I would say the difference with Jeffrey's look and Naeem's look is the treatment that Naeem gave with making it look like denim. But I do see this girl, Jeffrey's look. I don't think it looks like paper towel. I definitely think he put work into it in comparison to some of the others. But if you want to know my top is definitely Naeem. Um, B, I want these slacks right here. I want these slacks. My only issue would be is you had 2 days and you made a little tank top. I'm like the other designer. I forget his name. Um, take the harness off that top, and it's a very well made look, but it's definitely something that we see all the time. Um, and yeah, I feel like he could have put work in. He could have put a little more on the top. He put all his energy in the slack, and it's a beautifully cut slack, but he definitely could have put more energy in the top. Now, when you talk about Brian, Naeem's look is made entirely of paper towel, and you cannot tell. He did an amazing job. Like I said, he even had like part of it looks like different fabrications. It's wild. Jeffrey's look just looks like a very flowy. I can see it. It looks fabricy. I like it. I like it, but that's okay. And I must say, it's not so draggy. Like it's still got drama, but it's not so draggy. I'm wondering, like, are they playing with us? What the hell? What is Brian even doing over here? This is a hot. You talk about paper towel. She looked like she running through a paper towel forest. I don't know what these colors are supposed to be together. It just looks like pieces of pleated paper towel. He wants to cut it couture. couture. I can't do couture in a day. Yeah, you can't, and you did it. And Heidi and what's her name? Heidi and Tyra will probably wear this ugly ish. And because they were, oh my God, look how it flows down the runway. When you talk about flowing down the runway, I definitely think the sleeves on Jeffrey's look were definitely giving very light, very airy. This was just some paper towels wrapped around this lady, pleated up. And the fact that he should be, if he wasn't going to be on the bottom, he should just be on the safe. But I feel like they should have been debating about the bottom, but there's no point in putting him there. So yeah, he definitely isn't giving top. Oh, giving top tier. Should I say pause? Anyway, so after the runway, they were asked to critique the other looks, and they were supposed to say who out of all the other designers was the worst. So this doesn't surprise me. It's a room full of haters over here, and I'm really disappointed that my boy Naeem is one of them. I'm not sure what that's about with him. I feel like Naeem is somehow sticking to this stupid alliance, the Gen Zs. And the Gen Zs suck. He's the only one with any talent, so he should rethink his alliance. But who do you think, is the worst? Joseph McCray. That's what Naeem said. B, Joseph McCray. Really? Huh. Bobby, Joseph McCray. Jeffrey surprised me. I thought Jeffrey would move with a little more integrity than this. Brian as well, but it seems like they just fell into the follow the leader, Joseph McCray. Brian has hated Joseph from the very beginning because apparently they're the volume guys, but Joseph did come up with a jacket. He didn't scrunch together a green paper towel and make a salad dress. Elizabeth. She said Joseph McCray, disappointed in I feel like he should never have said his name, even if that's what he thought. And he is looking at these two people, Bobby and Elizabeth and Brian. I can say, B is obviously not the worst. He was in the bottom simply because, they had all those people with immunity. Jeffrey's not the worst. Brian should be at the bottom every week, as far as I'm concerned. He had one look that he brought with him. Since he's been in the workroom, he's come up with nothing. Yeah, Elizabeth, ugh. She been saying Joseph McCray. I just think it's so funny how Elizabeth and Bobby have all this I don't know what it is. Hey, we gonna call them haters for Joseph McCray, and they can't even sew. Neither one of them can sew, and clearly Brian needs an what does he call it? Intern. If you call this man your intern one more time, I feel like you need your daggone intern because your sewing skills is a chow. So yeah, the haters are over here. Naeem B, Bobby, Jeffrey, Elizabeth, and Brian all said Joseph McCray is the worst. Who kept it a bean? Who kept it a buck? My boy and my girl. These are the real ones. You got Joseph McCray, Jude, and Anna. Anna sat up there, said her own name. Like, that was crazy. I don't know why she did that. I hope that doesn't cost her spot. She said Bobby. And I think that was the right answer. Anna, shout out to her for not just jumping on the Joseph McCray train. Jude said from the very beginning, I'm not voting in my best interest. I am telling the truth. I'm going to be fair. And he said, Brian, I don't get it. I ain't figured it out. I haven't connected with anything yet. Honest answer. Joseph McCray. Who did he say? Elizabeth. And even in that moment, I guess he was probably in his feelings and hurt. He said he was. So he's like, she said my name first. When really she's one of the worst. And so for somebody who's so arrogant, He even given the opportunity to talk trash on someone, he did not. So there's that. I was so irritated by this. So yeah, these judges have decided that we don't get to know what's going on until next week. And I'm losing interest. I feel like the people are losing interest because the talent is subpar. The people are not getting enough days to, execute and do things to their best ability. Um, and it's a whole lot of nonsense over here. Like, what y'all got Nina in the daggone cast photo for if we don't get to see her? Because these people are out of control. And nobody wants the tacky twins over here to be making decisions. This is how we're here. I feel like I'm looking at Bobby and Elizabeth, and I'm like, so, and Octavius and what's her name, Bao, are gone. That makes no sense whatsoever. They, feel like cheated us out of, not to say that these people aren't talented, but they're not, they're some of them need to go back to the drawing board. They kept Chloe around. They kept Elizabeth around. They keeping Bobby around for whatever reason. Because hell, what's his name could have stayed for that matter. Audrey. Um, they're keeping around subpar talent that just really, after some of the people, that they let go. I feel like we'd be seeing a much better show with Octavius and Bao still here. And, they can let Brian go at any time. They won't because they're, hooked on this drama. So, yeah, y'all, that's it. We don't know who's going home. It's going to be between Anna, Bobby, or Elizabeth. Who do y'all think it should be? Send Bobby home. We tired of her. And she had the audacity to send a dress, not even a dress. It looks like she's pulled the skirt up over the boobies and tied a noose around the neck. We not voting for nooses. Thank you. Goodbye. And who should win this challenge? Easy. We should go ahead and give that money to Naeem because he, definitely took it to another level, whole nother level. And I'm interested to see what else he got in his pocket because, I feel like there's more. I feel like he's got more. I feel like he hasn't shared it all with us. Anyway, y'all, that's all I got tonight. I am so tired. I can't believe I got through that. I came in here straight from work and kept it pushing on over here, to this foolishness that they left us hanging with. Hopefully, the right decisions will be made and we can get the goddamn, y'all wasting time arguing over this damn lettuce dress and he ain't winning anyway. We're going to go ahead and give it to Naeem. Y'all like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm out of here. I'll be back Monday at 10:15 for some coffee talk. We got a lot to talk about on Monday. Roach and Tyra made you mad. All that wasting that time going back and forth, talking about you overstepping. Who? Ciao. Anyway, y'all have a good rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday fun day, and I'm going to try to do the same. Bye, y'all.